We just got our full lineup of nominees for the Game Awards. Find out what games made the cut and find out what games got snubbed. Up next. What up, guys? This is Kalo, and I'm here to give you the lowdown on all things gaming. And if you're new here, feel free to subscribe to this channel for weekly video game news content. Drop a like on the video, and welcome to the Level Up. So to kind of kick off this video, I think it goes without saying, this lineup for Game of the Year is rather polarizing. Of course, this event is hosted by Jeff Keighley and will go down December 7th. And people do put a lot of merit behind this show, and rightfully so. The event has grown in size over the years and continues to be this culmination of all things gaming. So let's kind of chat a bit about this year's nominees for Game of the Year. So to kick things off, let's talk a little bit about Alan Wake 2. At the very least, I was pretty thrilled to see this game get the recognition it truly deserves. Back when Alan Wake released on the 360, it was one of those games that really went under the radar, and that happened for a pretty good amount of people, so it's pretty good to see this game get the spotlight it fully deserves. Now, as far as Alan Wake 2 goes, if you played the game, you know this kicks up the level of creativity when talking about this classic horror game formula. But at times, the story does kind of get confusing, but that 13-year wait was well worth it. Now, Baldur's Gate 3 is up next, and this is kind of no surprise here. Baldur's Gate 3 stood above the rest of this year's big releases, being the highest rated game amongst all of them. And on PC during its opening weekend, this game got over 800,000 concurrent players, which is a feat not that many achieved. And to this very day, the game has a 96 approval rating on Steam, with 350,000 reviews, and recently won the Golden Joystick Award, which is a fan-voted event. Now, spoiler, I guess, for this all, I do think Baldur's Gate 3 takes home Game of the Year. Now to clarify, this isn't my personal Game of the Year. I'm more or less casting my vote within the games that were given here. But hey, let's swing over to our next game on the list here, and that's Spider-Man 2. Coming from Insomniac, this game is yet a no-brainer here, seeing how they really expanded on the original game's formula, and not to mention the game's overall plot and everything going on within the game is really a home run. And talking from a strict gameplay perspective in regards to Spider-Man 2, this no doubt is one of the best games of the year. Now, with this next game being Resident Evil 4, things start to get a little murky. Now, to be clear here, I love this game. It was in fact one of my favorite titles to release this year. And this game is certainly not lacking in any department, especially from overall quality. But all that aside, the problem I've seen with this nominee specifically, and this is a problem I have myself, is the fact that this game technically is a remake of a game that came out in 2005. And I don't know, that just kind of feels a bit off to me, especially when you factor in some of the games that weren't included on this list. 2023, while it had its lows, had plenty of highs. And regardless of the console maker or developer, there were games that released this year that could have been put in this slot. But hey, Super Mario Bros. Wonder cracked this list, and yet again, we got another big contender for Game of the Year. The gameplay was fun overall. I had a great time with it. But like I said with Resident Evil, 2023 was a big year in games. And when you compare games straight up, people were wondering if this game deserved the spot too. But the last nominee on this list, without further ado, is Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. Again, we got another great game that is very deserving of this spot, with that overall positive reception the game got upon release. Plus, with Zelda, it's gonna be a game we talk about for years to come, especially since I think it did a really good job improving that groundwork that was laid out in Breath of the Wild. And there you have it. Those are the 6 games that are up for Game of the Year. And now I kinda wanted to take some time to talk about this event as a whole. The biggest question online that I've come across is, are these 6 games, without a shadow of a doubt, deserving of their respective nominations? Now, personally, I think that's pretty subjective. I also don't think there's a single list out there that anyone can make that will make everyone happy all across the board. There's just a ton of people in this world and they all have their respective opinions. I mean, that's kind of why I started this channel. It was kind of just to share opinions on gaming and just get a conversation going. Now, the Game Awards as a singular event is a great time. I honestly think it's one of the better overall celebrations of the gaming industry that's currently going. But what I don't enjoy about all this is there are some people out there that see this as the end-all be-all in gaming, and I don't think it should be. There are plenty other gaming events that give out respective awards for Game of the Year, like I mentioned earlier, the Golden Joystick, which is a fan-voted event. And one could argue that the Golden Joystick is a more prestigious award, since it's voted on by the people who matter most at the end of the day, being the fans, and not some council of media people. My point here is you shouldn't get too frustrated by this year's lineup, and what you should do, and it's personally what I'm going to do, is just kind of sit back and enjoy the show. I've been pretty persistent in this idea that I'm gonna like games and I'm gonna have opinions on games that differ from other people. My Game of the Year nominee list is probably gonna be different from yours. At the end of the day, just enjoy what you enjoy. Now, I'm gonna expand on this idea further, but while we're here, let's talk about it. I kinda wanna circle back to Resident Evil real quick. Again, it's a great game, if not one of the best games released this year. But this is a remake of a game that came out in 2005, which in my opinion would have been better set in a category like Remake of the Year. Which in 2023 alone, we got a Dead Space remake and even Star Ocean. So it was a pretty fun year for remakes overall to really shine in a category of their own. So what are some games that got snubbed at this year's show? Let's break this all down. Up first is a game that could have been slotted into that Resident Evil spot, and that's Starfield. I know the Xbox community is rather upset about this matter, and to see a game like Hi-Fi Rush miss this opportunity as well makes you scratch your head a little bit. Plus, there's always been this underlying battle between the media and Xbox, and all of that is in regards to the scores their games get upon release. That fabled term of the Xbox tax will only gain some steam here, seeing how the media makes choices like this. But like I said, personally, I think Starfield or even Hi-Fi Rush, honestly at the very least, could have been put on this list instead of a game that was released again in 2005. But at the same time too, Hi-Fi Rush is up for plenty other awards, so it's not like it's being totally snubbed. Now, games like Final Fantasy XVI, Diablo 4, Armored Core 6, and even Pikmin 4 are also another lot of games that are on the outside looking in. But again, this is why I say don't take their word, or honestly, don't take my word for gospel here. We all have differing opinions. But with all that being said, I'm gonna pass this question off to you guys. I want to know the 6 games you would have put in for Game of the Year. And from the list that was given here, what game is taking home Game of the Year? Personally, I think it's between Baldur's Gate 3 and Tears of the Kingdom. But that about does it here. I've been K-Lo. I gave you the lowdown on all things gaming. And if you're new here, feel free to subscribe to this channel for weekly video game news content. Drop a like on the video. And this has been the Level Up.